In this lesson, we're going to learn how to create custom adapters, and specifically one here that is going to number each row. All right, so we left last lesson talking about customizations for our adapter, and we said here that what we're going to need to do is to make a class that is going to extend base adapter. So the name of the class that we're going to use to do that is just going to be called row number adapter, right? So let's go ahead and create it and take a look at and what it has stubbed in for us. Back in Eclipse, go ahead and in your project make a new class, and we'll call this guy row number adapter, and superclass is going to be base adapter. If you start typing that and hit Control Space, it'll choose the right one for you. And it's asking here, which stubs do you want? We'll take the inherited abstract methods. So if when we do that, we're going to get a bunch of methods here. Let's talk about those for a minute. All right, so these are the ones that we're going to have to override. Now we're going to see a couple things here. So getCount and getView are automatically going to be called, right? It's going to ask, hey, how many of these views do you want, right? So that's where we get a chance to tell it how many. And getView will say, well, what are they going to look like, right? How are we going to do that? So these are going to be some of the ones that we're going to start off with here. GetItem ID, we'll take a look at in a little bit, since we're not going to be calling them at least immediately. Okay, before we override any of these, what we really want to do is we want to put in a constructor, right? So row number adapter. And let's make a constructor that takes a context as a parameter here. So context, context. And we want to save this guy off in a field, import context. Save this guy off because when we create the views a little bit later on, we're gonna be needing that. So my context, create a field for that guy. So, whoops, looks like I hit the wrong button here. Create a field. There we go. So that sounds good. All right, let's start overriding things. So getCount. What is getCount going to be? Let's just start off with hard coding of 5. I'm going to look ahead a little bit. Really, what I'm going to want is some kind of a field for this as well. So my number of rows. We can let that guy be a field. And let's give it an initial value here of 5, like we said. All right. So we really want this to serve up 5 rows. Good so far. So getting the slides caught up. So again, the constructor is going to store the context, so the activity that's being passed into it. Later on, we're going to need it for views, and then actually we can test this if we want to see what's going on the other end. Would be to actually construct a row number adapter and just pass in the activity itself, so we get it and set the adapter to that one. So I guess we can do that right now. Main activity. Right now I had this array adapter. Just going to comment this guy out here, and I will make a row number adapter. I'm just going to call this adapter as well here. It's going to be a new row number adapter, and the context will be this. All right, so something like that. Okay, so here's getCount. Already did that. Let's take a look at getView. Right? So getView has a very interesting typical structure to it. We have a position of the view in case we needed that. And then there's a couple of parameters here for the parent we're not going to really use, but the convert view is kind of interesting. Right? We can use this to try to recycle it. Right? So if one has already been created and it's passed in, then it clearly won't be null. So we can just use it, right? On the other hand, if it hasn't been created before, it's going to be null. Then we're going to have to initialize a new one, all right? Once we've done that, then we're going to do any sort of customization that we need to do before we actually return it. All right. So what's up with this convert view? What's going on? So let's do a little bit of reading here. So the convert view is simply just the old view, right? That we're going to try to reuse. right? And again, we're saying that we want to check to see if it's non-null. And if it is non-null, then we don't have to recreate it, right? So we only make it if necessary. And you might wonder why this extra logic here is it really comes down to efficiency, right? And again, say I have an adapter view with 50 or 100, a whole bunch of views, and it needs to update, right? So one of the views, one of the parameters gets changed on it. Do I really want to be reinstantiating all 50 or 100 views from scratch, or do I just want to modify the ones that are already in memory? Much more efficient to do the latter. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and code this guy up and see what we get. All right, so back in my row number adapter, my getView. All right, take a look, and we'll start off with a very simple one, which is going to be a TextView, right? And I'll just call this guy view, and import that guy, and then ask about the convert view, right? So if convert view is null, then go ahead and make one. So view is going to be a new text view. And whenever we construct a text view, it needs a context. It's a good thing we saved that guy around from before. So there's our context to use. Otherwise, all right, then view is just going to be the convert view, all right, that was passed in. Since that was just a view, we're going to have to typecast here. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then return our view. So pretty straightforward. We're going to do one more thing here. So let's go ahead and set the text on it, and we can say something that's like I don't know, row, and then say I want the position, right? So it should come off and start off by saying row 0, row 1, row 2, and so on. Let's run it. Okay, my emulator came up, and here I have rows 0 through 4, so the 5 hard-coded in that I put. And I see here that that I can click add view, but nothing happens. All right, so getting the slides caught up here, creating a text view, no problem. I've been there, done that. I've clicked on it, all that, except that buttons aren't working. And indeed, we should make them do something, right? So that's actually pretty straightforward to do. Creating a new listener, I've done many times. But one thing I have to realize is that once I get a button click, I need to be able to add a view, and I need to be able to tell my adapter somehow that the data had changed out from underneath it, and that I need to that it needs to do an update. All right. So let's go ahead and do these things. So back here in my main activity, I have an adapter. Let's go and do the following. So take your button, set an onClick listener, and we will make it a new onClick listener, make an anonymous one right here, and import that view onClick listener. So what do we want to do with this guy when it's clicked? We want to be able to add a view. So we want to be able to say, hey adapter, will you add a view? All right, and that's a method we're going to have to make here. So let's let it help us out here. So create a method, add view, sure, no problem. And it turns out that this is really just about a one-liner. So for now, I could just have it take the number of rows and add 1. And by adding 1, it's just going to increase the count so that it's going to create more of them. Really no more than that. Now the adapter, it's complaining on this guy, and again, because it's being used within an inner class, it's saying that the outer class needs to be, or the variable that it's referring to here needs to be final. So nothing new there either. All right, the last thing I have to do is adapter dot. And there's a method here called notify dataset changed, right? And that it basically needs to be refreshed. So kind of a key thing to do if you ever are coding and you notice that you've coded up an adapter, you've made a change, and you don't see it being reflected, It's probably what happened, right? Is you just forgot to tell it to update itself. All right, let's take a look at this guy in the emulator. So back here, so add view. Now we see that by adding one, it created an extra view. And I could really create as many of them as I want. I'm going to create a whole bunch here just to get it scrolling, right? Just so we can see that it does allow me to scroll. So I have 36 of them here, it looks like. So very, very easy to do that. Great. So let's get our slides caught up. All right. So our add view method, pretty straightforward. And we called that method, and we said that notified that we told the data set, and we told the adapter that the data set was changed. Okay, so the next thing that is to actually listen for other kind of clicks here. So what if I wanted to detect when a list item element was clicked on, right? So say I click on row 7, and I want to bring up a little toast here that says that the row 7 was clicked, right? So that's actually doable. The way that I'm going to do that is by using an onItem click listener on my list view, right? And this has an onItem click method. Let's take a look at the parameters here. So it has the parent, so sort of like the whole view. So this is the list view. The view itself. So these are going to be the individual items within here. So sort of what got clicked. It'll also pass in which position within this, right? So that's kind of nice. And then which ID. All right. Most of the time, position will be sufficient for us to do what we need to. All right. Let's go ahead and code this guy up. All right. So this is going to be list view dot set on item click listener, and you see they also have one for long clicks if you wanted. And we will make a new on item click listener. And for some reason, let's go ahead and import this guy. It sometimes doesn't stub them in like it does for the others. I'm not quite sure why. All right, very good. So let's do something simple like make a toast, like we saw there. So toast, make text. Context is going to be the outer class. So main activity dot this. The text that we want, we'll say something like you clicked row, and then add in the actual the position here. Right. Duration. We'll leave it up here just for a short time this time, and make sure that we show the toast. Run it. Again, back here, I click on row 3, and it says you clicked row 3. Make some more. Row 7, you clicked row 7. All right, so very nice. All right, and just looking ahead here, getting the slides caught up. Just the text that we had for our toast. That's it for now. See you later.